All right, will lawmakers rescue the rescue plan? Let's take a look here live at the House Rules Committee meeting right now to talk about the upcoming vote. Joining us live here are two Republicans who are members of the Financial Services Committee. Don Manzullo voted no for the legislation on Monday. Michael Castle voted yes. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us. Let me ask first of all, Representative Castle, what do you think about this sort of wrinkle in the process that the Republicans, that this group of rebel Republicans have sort of thrown in here? They want to add an amendment to this bill.
Well, I don't know their amendment that well, but I have spoken to one of them who's putting it forth, and I think it's a good concept. Having said that, I am supportive of the legislation, and I'm even more supportive of the legislation as it was changed in the Senate. So even without that amendment, I would probably be supportive of it. But having said that, I think they have some good concepts in their amendment.
Yeah, Congressman Manzullo, would this amendment swing your no vote to a yes? I mean, they effectively want to get rid of a lot of the seemingly silly pork in the bill. Also, give a first installment of only $250 billion and then get say on any further payments that are made.
I don't know if that would swing my vote. The problem is that the bill was fatally flawed in the first place by giving to the Secretary of Treasury absolute discretion to use $700 billion worth of taxpayers' funds on the backs of taxpayers to bail out banks, including the Bank of China, with its U.S. investments on not only mortgage debt, but auto debt and credit card debt. So the problem is a fatally flawed bill that failed in the House, went to the Senate. The Senate tried to add sweeteners to it, which is really disgusting. To get a bad bill through, they add things as to which there's almost unanimity of agreement among members of Congress, good tax concessions, and then they say, no, you got to vote for this. What they haven't told you is that there's a $45 billion tax increase in this new bill that's coming back from the Senate. No one's talking about that, including $18 billion on oil and production, which means that it makes us even more dependent upon foreign oil, and it's less of an incentive to drill off the coast. It's a bad bill, and it's a bad so-called sweetener that was put onto it.
Congressman Castle, why don't you answer to that? I mean, what's making you vote yes to this bill? If you listen to Congressman Manzullo, it seems like something that's a little bit ridiculous.
Well, first of all, Don's a good friend, and I agree with Don at the beginning. I think at the inception of this bill, as proposed by the President and Mr. Bernanke, it had a lot of problems. It was a 3-page bill, and it gave them, they became sort of all-powerful in terms of how that would be spent. But the House did a good job, I thought, of limiting those expenditures. An insurance policy was put into place. Warrants or stock options in the companies that would participate in this were allowed to go to the federal government to help as assurance that we would be paid back. Many other provisions were put in, such as no golden parachutes, limitations on executive compensation at the Wall Street level, and a variety of other things, which I think made it a good bill. Then went over to the Senate, and I believe that the Senate maneuvers basically were positive. I believe in fixing the AMT problem. I believe in dealing with the mental health parity issue. I believe that they were correct in some of their other tax provisions which were added to this, which we were having trouble getting done in the House, as Don indicated. And I feel that that's actually a positive step forward. So my judgment is this is a better bill now.
Is it essential to saving this country from what would essentially spiral into a depression?
It may be essential. That's very hard to answer. I think that's hard for any of us to predict at this point. But having said that, we saw the response of the stock market when the bill failed in the House of Representatives. My sense is that there are a lot of credit problems out there that go well beyond Wall Street. We're dealing with automobile dealers. We're dealing with small businesses. We're dealing with people's IRAs and 401ks, and these are all at risk. And my sense is this would give us stability to the market. One other thing, I believe of that $700 billion that we are dealing with, much of that money is going to be won back in terms of acquiring the mortgage-backed assets and then selling them at a later time. So I don't think ultimately there's going to be that big a loss to the federal government.
I agree with Mike that we have a very serious problem that Congress needs to act, and act very quickly. But there are many alternatives out there that we've never been allowed to broach. For example, the alternative that was used in the 1981 bailout of the S&Ls. It's a template, it's tested, it's tried, it minimizes the risk of the taxpayer. Even, God bless his liberal soul, George Soros has come out with a plan that's better than this. He says lend the money directly to the financial institutions, take back stock as security, monitor their performance, and we can pull out of this thing. But we have a very bad base bill that needs to be radically changed. But I agree with Mike. I'm not one of those congressmen who says do nothing. We have to act. It has to be reasonably quick.
Do we have, Congressman Manzullo, do we have time to do this? I mean, aren't you concerned that the longer we wait, the more problems we're going to face?
The problem is this. 10 days ago, the Secretary of Treasury said, take it or leave it. We're going to shove this down your throat. Give me $700 billion to use at my discretion. If you look at the bill, the discretion is still there, and the oversight boards, by the time they're able to check what he's doing, he could go through $700 billion in 30 days. We've had the time all along. And people keep on saying, well, why don't you act? We've been stymied from acting because the White House and the Speaker have decided that they want to have the $700 billion crammed down the throats of the American people without an opportunity for any alternatives. And that's how bad legislation gets.
I mean, I disagree with that. I believe that the House and the Senate, Republicans and Democrats, and even the White House have actually acted reasonably and done a good job of taking this legislation, which in its skeleton form wasn't very strong, and making it a piece of legislation which could serve the best interests of the country, and I think protect the taxpayers' dollars. So I think for a change, and it's a little bit unusual down here, there's been good interaction together amongst all the interested parties.
Can I ask you?
I'd like to see more.
Can I ask you, Congressman Manzullo, when do you expect this vote to happen? I mean, speaking of scheduling, what time is it penciled in on your schedule here?
I think it could be either tonight or probably sometime tomorrow morning.
Yeah, that's what everybody thinks. It'll be tonight or tomorrow morning, just as long as it doesn't interfere with the Phillies playoff game. That's the important part of all this.
Any idea? Who knows who's going to win the Phillies playoffs game? Do you know who's going to win this vote? Congressman Castle, do you think you have enough votes?
Yeah, I think the votes are going to be there. I've spoken to several members who are changing votes. I'm not saying it's going to be overwhelming, but I think there'll be sufficient votes to put it over the top. I think a key component here are the blue dog Democrats, the more conservative Democrats who don't like some of the tax provisions which are not paid for. And that could be a factor on the downside. But other than that, I think the votes will be there.
All right, gentlemen.
If I could, either a yes vote or no vote is a very tough vote of conscience. I mean, we both struggle with this thing. Members are not criticizing each other because of our votes, but we've really struggled with this in our own spirits, and each of us is casting our own vote based upon what we feel deep inside is the best for our constituents and for the country.
Well, thank you very much for your hard work, both of you. Thank you to Congressman Manzullo and Castle, and thank you so much for joining us on Bloomberg Television.